Ladies and gentlemen, every single one of us is chasing something: success, fulfillment, purpose. But the truth is, most people never truly find it. Not because they don't want it badly enough, but because they're looking for it in the wrong place. You see, we've been taught to seek safety, to cling to routine, to stay where it's warm and predictable. But success doesn't live there. It doesn't wait for you in the comfort zone. It stands just outside of it. Like a muscle, growth demands resistance. It demands discomfort. Because the moment you step beyond what is familiar, the moment fear meets action, that's when you begin to evolve. This isn't about motivation that fades. This is about mindset that endures. So tonight, I'm not here to tell you to chase success. I'm here to challenge you. Dare to leave your comfort zone. Because your future, your greatness, your real success, it begins exactly where your comfort ends. Let's begin. Discomfort is often misunderstood. We're conditioned to believe that it's something to be avoided, something negative. From an early age, we're told to seek comfort, to stay safe, to avoid taking risks that might lead to failure or embarrassment. But the reality is, discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. More often than not, it's a sign that something is beginning to change. And all meaningful change, all real growth starts in that place where things feel uncertain, unfamiliar, and yes, uncomfortable. Think about the last time you truly grew as a person. Was it during a moment when everything was going perfectly, when life was smooth and easy, when you felt entirely in control? Or was it during a period when you were stretched, challenged, and unsure of the outcome? Real growth doesn't happen when you're sitting in your comfort zone, watching life go by. It happens when you step into the unknown, when you're forced to confront your fears, and when you push through the resistance that tells you to turn back. Discomfort is the signal that you're on the edge of something important. It tells you that you're about to break through a limitation, one that has held you back, maybe for years. It might be the fear of public speaking, the hesitation to start a new business, the anxiety around having a difficult conversation, or the doubt that comes with pursuing a dream that no one else believes in. These situations aren't comfortable, and they're not supposed to be. That discomfort is the cost of stepping into a new version of yourself. The problem is, we're biologically wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Our brains are designed to keep us safe, but safe doesn't mean successful. Safe doesn't mean fulfilled, it just means familiar, and familiar can be a trap. Familiar is the reason people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, or lifestyles that numb them. Because it's what they know. But knowing something doesn't make it good for you. And comfort doesn't mean happiness. It just means predictability. To grow, you must be willing to challenge that part of your mind that tells you to stay where it's safe. Growth demands risk. It demands failure. It demands that you fall and learn how to get back up again. Every person you admire, every leader, creator, innovator, and change maker has walked through the fire of discomfort. They've faced criticism, rejection, loneliness, and doubt. But they kept going because they understood that pain is a part of progress. There is no shortcut around discomfort. If you want to grow, you have to go through it. You have to let go of the need to have everything figured out. You have to be willing to look foolish, to make mistakes, and to feel vulnerable. That vulnerability is not weakness. It's the foundation of transformation. When you allow yourself to step into the unknown, you begin to develop resilience, character, and self-trust. Every time you choose discomfort over comfort, you expand your limits. What once felt scary begins to feel manageable. What once seemed impossible becomes part of your reality, and slowly your comfort zone grows. But the only way it grows is by stretching it. And stretching it means leaving it behind again and again. You will never feel ready to take the leap. And that's okay. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel committed. You need to understand that discomfort is not the enemy. It is the doorway. It is the space between who you are and who you're becoming. And the longer you resist it, the longer you delay your own potential. The truth is, most people won't take that step. Most will stay right where they are, living just below the surface of their capabilities, held back by fear, comfort, and the false promise of certainty. But if you want a different kind of life, if you want success that's real and meaningful, you have to choose differently. You have to lean into discomfort, not away from it. Discomfort is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It's the moment you decide that you're no longer okay with playing small. It's the moment you realize that growth is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And it's the moment you discover that everything you've ever wanted is waiting for you just outside the borders of your comfort zone. Comfort zones are built on familiarity. They are constructed out of our daily routines, the habits we cling to, the environments we know, and the beliefs we've accepted. While comfort can offer temporary relief, it also creates a powerful illusion, the illusion of safety, control, and certainty. But just because something feels safe doesn't mean it's helping you grow. In fact, that very sense of security is often what holds people back from reaching their full potential. It convinces us to stay where we are, to keep doing what we've always done, and to avoid anything that might stretch us too far. What many fail to realize is that the comfort zone isn't neutral. It's not just a place of stillness. It's a place of slow decline. When we settle too deeply into comfort, we begin to stagnate, we stop learning, we stop trying, we start accepting good enough. Instead of aiming for great, over time our standards drop, our dreams fade, and our energy diminishes. The comfort zone becomes a cage, one with invisible bars made of fear, routine, and doubt. You can't grow in a cage. You can't evolve when everything around you stays the same and demands nothing new from you. One of the most dangerous effects of the comfort zone is how it trains us to fear change. Change becomes something to resist, something to delay, something to fear rather than embrace. We convince ourselves that if we just wait long enough, the perfect moment will come. But it never does. There is no ideal time, no guaranteed result, no path without risk. Waiting for things to feel just right is another trap, because the longer we stay in the illusion of comfort, the more uncomfortable growth begins to feel. The comfort zone also creates a fixed identity. It says, this is who you are. This is what you can do. Stay within these limits. It doesn't encourage exploration, creativity, or ambition. It discourages bold decisions and punishes vulnerability. And the longer we stay within that identity, the harder it becomes to imagine ourselves as anything else. The person who once dreamed of doing big things begins to feel like someone who's too late, too tired, or too afraid. The more we accept that narrative, the more it becomes our reality. But reality can be reshaped. The truth is, the moment you recognize the comfort zone for what it is, an illusion, you regain power. You begin to understand that safety is not the same as fulfillment. That routine is not the same as purpose. That security is not the same as success. When you see the comfort zone as a trap rather than a sanctuary, you start to challenge its rules. You start to take small steps outside of it. You start to realize that the discomfort of change is less painful than the regret of staying stuck. It's important to understand that stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't mean throwing yourself into chaos. It means choosing growth over ease. It means doing things that stretch you, not break you. It means choosing to have the hard conversations, to take the risk, to say yes to the opportunity, even if it scares you. Because every time you challenge the illusion of safety, you build a new kind of strength, a quiet inner confidence that doesn't depend on circumstances. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who had everything handed to them. They're the ones who were willing to be uncomfortable. They were willing to do what others weren't. They were willing to face uncertainty, to move without guarantees, and to risk failure in pursuit of something greater. They understood that real progress happens at the edge of discomfort, not in the middle of routine. What separates high achievers from everyone else isn't talent or luck. It's their relationship with the unknown. While most people run from it, they walk toward it. While others fear change, they use it as fuel. While some cling to what they know, they let go to make room for what's possible. And that shift in mindset begins the moment you realize that comfort is a choice, and so is courage. So if you're feeling stuck, unmotivated, or uninspired, don't look outside for answers. Look at the space you've created around you. Look at how tightly you're holding on to familiarity. And then ask yourself, is this comfort helping me grow, or is it keeping me small? The answer to that question will guide your next step. And if you're brave enough to take it, you'll start to see that success doesn't live inside the illusion. It lives outside it, just beyond the borders of everything you think you need to feel safe. Confidence is often viewed as the key to success, the golden trait we all wish to possess before we begin anything new. But the truth is, waiting for confidence before taking action is a trap. Confidence is the result of action, not the requirement for it. What we really need, what truly drives growth and transformation, is courage. Courage is far more valuable than confidence because it doesn't require certainty. It only requires the willingness to act despite fear. Courage shows up when you have every reason to hesitate, every reason to back out, but you move forward anyway. It's that small voice inside you that says, try even when the fear of failure is loud. While confidence is rooted in past success and familiarity, courage lives in the unknown. It's what carries you through the moments when you feel inadequate, uncertain, or unprepared. And those moments, ironically, are where breakthroughs happen. Think about any significant moment in your life where you achieved something meaningful. Were you fully confident at the beginning? Probably not. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you doubted yourself. Maybe you had no idea how it would turn out. But you stepped forward anyway. That was courage. And that courage is what created the space for confidence to eventually grow. You don't build confidence by standing still. You build it by showing up again and again, even when you feel afraid. This is a critical shift in mindset. realizing that you don't need to wait until you feel ready to begin. If you wait until you're confident, you'll likely never start. You'll spend your life preparing, overthinking, analyzing, and doubting. But courage says, start before you're ready, move before you're sure. And that decision to act is where transformation begins. It's where learning happens, where resilience is built, and where self-belief slowly starts to form. Courage is also what allows you to be vulnerable. It lets you speak up when your voice shakes. It lets you raise your hand when you're unsure. It lets you try something new without the guarantee of success. And in those acts of vulnerability, you become stronger. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a gateway. It opens you up to possibility. It teaches you to trust yourself even when outcomes are uncertain. Confidence often carries the illusion that we must be perfect or fully competent before we step into something new. But life doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't happen in neat, controlled conditions. It's messy, unpredictable, and often uncomfortable. Courage accepts that. It embraces the mess. It moves forward even with doubt. And that's where the magic lies, because action fueled by courage creates evidence. And evidence builds belief. That belief eventually becomes confidence. But it all starts with the decision to act in fear, not in the absence of it. One of the most empowering realizations is that courage is always available to you. You don't have to earn it. You don't need to be born with it. It's a choice, one you make moment by moment. It's in the decision to step up, to speak truth, to take the risk, even when it terrifies you. And with every courageous act, no matter how small, you become someone who trusts themselves a little more. We live in a world that celebrates the confident, but we must learn to value the courageous. Because confidence may impress others, but courage transforms you. It's what changes your life from the inside out. And it's often invisible to others. It happens in those private moments when no one is watching, when you choose growth over fear, purpose over comfort, and progress over perfection. People often ask how to become more confident. The answer is simple but not easy. Be more courageous. Choose action. Choose to move through fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. Fear doesn't go away on its own, but your relationship with it changes when you learn to act despite it. You begin to understand that fear is a companion on the path to greatness, not a barrier. So don't aim to be fearless. Aim to be courageous. Don't wait to feel confident. Decide to be brave. The more you practice courage, the more you realize that everything you want in life, success, fulfillment, freedom, is on the other side of that decision. Not the decision to be certain, but decision to step forward in the face of uncertainty. Confidence may follow, but it's courage that leads. Progress is not something that happens by chance. It's not the product of wishful thinking or passive waiting. It's the direct result of challenge, of putting yourself in situations that test your limits, stretch your capabilities, and demand more from you than you've given before. Challenge is not the enemy of progress, it is the engine of it. Every step forward in your life will be preceded by a moment of discomfort, doubt, or difficulty. That's how you know you're moving. That's how you know you're alive. Human beings are wired to adapt. It's in our biology. But that adaptation only happens when we are placed under pressure. Just like muscles only grow when they are pushed beyond their comfort level. The mind and spirit only evolve through effort. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without challenge, there is no transformation. If everything around you feels easy, predictable, and safe, chances are you're not progressing, you're maintaining. And maintenance might feel stable for a while, but over time it leads to stagnation. Challenge brings clarity. It exposes what you're made of. It reveals your blind spots, your weaknesses, and the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. It strips away excuses and forces you to face the truth about your discipline, your mindset, your commitment. In doing so, it gives you the opportunity to grow stronger, more focused, and more aligned with your goals. Every challenge is a mirror. It doesn't just show you the struggle. It shows you who you can become if you choose to rise. Progress through challenge also teaches resilience. When things get hard, and they will, it's resilience that keeps you going, not motivation, not talent, not luck. It's your ability to keep moving when the path gets uncertain, when obstacles appear, when your plans fall apart. Resilience is forged in challenge. It is not something you're born with. It is built by continuing on when it would be easier to quit. And the more challenges you face, the more resilient you become. Another powerful aspect of challenge is that it forces you to innovate. When you're up against a wall, when the usual strategies no longer work, you're forced to think differently. You're pushed to become more resourceful, more creative, more courageous. Innovation doesn't come from routine. It comes from necessity. It comes from being in a place where you have to grow, where you have to evolve to survive and succeed. And that growth becomes the foundation for all future progress. It's also important to understand that not all challenges will look like major life events. Some are small internal battles, waking up early, saying no to distractions, having the discipline to follow through on your goals. These daily challenges are just as powerful. They build integrity. They train your mind to take control of your actions, to not be a slave to emotion or external pressure. Small challenges compound into massive growth when you face them consistently. Many people avoid challenge because they associate it with failure. But failure is not the opposite of progress. It's part of it. Every failure is a lesson. Every setback is feedback. When you embrace challenge, you also learn to embrace failure, not as something to be ashamed of, but as a stepping stone. Progress isn't a straight line. It's a jagged path filled with lessons, retrays, and moments where you wonder if it's worth it. But those moments are what make progress meaningful. If it were easy, it wouldn't matter. There's also a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from overcoming challenge. When you look back at the hardest things you've faced, they're often the most meaningful. They shaped you. They gave you confidence, perspective, humility. They reminded you of your strength. The victories that come without effort are often forgotten, but the ones you had to fight for, the ones that tested everything in you, those are the ones that stay with you. Those are the moments that define your story. So if you truly want to make progress, stop seeking ease. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop hoping that things will just work out without effort. Instead, seek the challenge. Invite it, lean into it. When you face challenges head on, you build the foundation for lasting progress. You don't just move forward, you evolve. You become the kind of person who doesn't need ideal conditions to thrive. You become the kind of person who creates progress in any condition. Challenge is not the thing holding you back, it's the thing pushing you forward. Embrace it, and you'll find that progress is not only possible, it's inevitable. The unknown is a place most people avoid. It's uncomfortable, unpredictable, and often intimidating, but it's also where all growth, all discovery, and all transformation begin. The unknown holds your greatest potential, not because it guarantees success, but because it forces you to evolve in ways the familiar never will. Inside the boundaries of what you already know, you can only repeat versions of your past. It is only when you step beyond those borders, into the uncertainty of the unknown, that new parts of you are awakened, tested, and revealed. There's a reason we fear the unknown. Our minds are wired for certainty. We crave control. We want to know the outcome before we take the leap. But progress doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. The most meaningful things you'll ever do, starting a new venture, ending a toxic relationship, pursuing a dream, or reinventing yourself will always begin with a step into the unknown. There's no way around it. The very act of becoming something more than you are now requires you to leave behind what you already understand. The unknown is a blank page, and that's both the challenge and the opportunity. It means you're no longer limited by old narratives. It means you're free to redefine who you are and what you're capable of. But that freedom comes with a price: discomfort, fear, and risk. Most people aren't willing to pay it. They choose the safety of what they know over the possibility of something better. They stay in jobs that don't fulfill them, relationships that don't inspire them, and lives that don't challenge them. Not because they're happy, but because they're familiar. But familiarity is not the same as fulfillment. Predictability is not the same as peace. You can be deeply unsatisfied and still stay where you are if you let fear dictate your choices. What separates the people who grow from those who stay stuck is their willingness to face the unknown, not with the absence of fear, but with the courage to act despite it. That's where real power lies. In that moment when you choose to take a step forward, even when everything in you screams to turn back, the unknown reveals potential because it forces adaptation. When you're navigating something new, you have to develop new skills. You have to build new beliefs. You have to confront weaknesses and lean into strengths you didn't know you had. These are not just external challenges, they are internal transformations. You begin to think differently, behave differently, and see yourself in a new light. That shift in identity is the real value of entering the unknown. You become someone who is no longer limited by your past or defined by your fears. This journey into the unknown also builds trust, not just in the process, but in yourself. You start to see that you don't need all the answers to begin. You don't need a guarantee. You need the willingness to figure things out as you go. And with every step, you gather evidence that you are capable, adaptable, and stronger than you believed. That self-trust becomes the foundation for everything that follows. It gives you the confidence to take bigger risks, dream bigger dreams, and live a life that aligns with your true potential. We often think we need to see the whole path before we start. But that's not how growth works. The path reveals itself through action. Each step forward illuminates the next. And even when things don't go as planned, even when you fail or fall, you're still moving. You're still learning. You're still expanding your capacity. The unknown doesn't just offer success, it offers transformation. And that's the real reward. There's a kind of magic that lives just beyond the edges of the familiar. It's where creativity is born. It's where innovation happens. It's where the life you truly want, the one that excites you, challenges you, and fulfills you, actually exists. But you'll never experience it if you keep choosing comfort over courage, routine over risk, or fear over possibility. Every great story begins with a leap into the unknown. Every breakthrough, every reinvention, every powerful moment of change starts with a decision to go where you've never gone before. And the people who live extraordinary lives are not the ones who avoided the unknown. They are the ones who made peace with it, learned to navigate it, and eventually grew to love it. So if you find yourself standing on the edge of something unfamiliar, don't shrink back, don't wait for permission or perfection. Lean in, step forward. Because everything you've been searching for, growth, meaning fulfillment, is not hiding in what you already know. It's waiting for you in the unknown. And the only way to reach it is to move beyond the borders of comfort and into the wild, beautiful space where your greatest potential lies. True transformation is not something that happens all at once. It's not a single decision or a dramatic moment of change. It is the result of consistent, intentional, uncomfortable action. It is built in the small, daily decisions that feel inconvenient, in the effort that feels unseen, and in the commitment that goes beyond motivation. And this is where discipline becomes everything. Discipline is the quiet force that pushes you forward when your emotions try to pull you back. It's what makes real change possible. Motivation may get you started, but it's fleeting. It's based on emotion, and emotion is temporary. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up, when your mind is tired, your heart is heavy, and your willpower is low. If you rely on feeling ready, you'll never be consistent. But discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It only asks what needs to be done. And the people who succeed are the ones who answer that call, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching. The comfort zone feeds on emotion. It whispers, take it easy today. You deserve a break. There's always tomorrow. And sometimes those messages seem so reasonable that we accept them without question. But discipline is the voice that says, do it anyway. It's the inner standard that holds you to your goals even when your mood doesn't match your mission. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about honoring the person you're trying to become. Discipline is how you close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. One of the greatest lies we're told is that success should feel good all the time. That pursuing your dreams should be exciting every day. That growth should be comfortable. But real success is often inconvenient. It requires you to wake up early, to say no when it's easier to say yes, to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. It requires discipline. And that's why so few people reach their full potential. Not because they're not capable, but because they're not consistent. Discipline is what creates momentum. When you show up daily, when you build habits, routines, and standards, you remove the friction of indecision. You no longer ask yourself, should I do this today? You simply do it. And over time, those actions stack, small actions compound into big results. 5 minutes of reading becomes a lifetime of knowledge. One workout becomes a healthy body. One honest conversation becomes a deeper relationship. It's not the intensity, it's the consistency. And consistency driven by discipline is where true confidence is born. Not the kind of confidence that looks good on the outside, but the kind that is rooted in self-trust. When you keep promises to yourself, when you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, you begin to believe in your ability to follow through. That belief becomes unshakable. And that's what gives you the courage to aim higher, to take risks, to lead yourself into the unknown. Discipline also teaches you respect, self-respect. Because every time you choose growth over ease, you affirm your own value. You're saying, I matter enough to try. My future matters enough to fight for. You begin to carry yourself differently. You stop needing external validation because you're building internal integrity. And when you operate from that place, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you've become stronger. There's also a freedom that comes from discipline. While the world may think it's restrictive, the truth is that discipline creates space. It removes chaos. It clears distractions. It builds structure so your energy can be focused. And in that structure, there is freedom. The freedom to pursue what matters most without being derailed by momentary emotion or outside noise. Discipline won't make the journey easier, but it will make it possible. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it is powerful. It's the foundation of every breakthrough, every reinvention, every great achievement. And it starts with a decision to stop waiting, to stop making excuses, to stop needing the perfect conditions. It starts with a simple choice to do what needs to be done every day, no matter what. So if you want to transform your life, build discipline. Show up when it's hard. Take action when it's uncomfortable. Choose purpose over pleasure. Because comfort will never create the life you're capable of living, but discipline will. And over time, it becomes more than a habit. It becomes who you are.